Hey, Russell B. here to answer a very important question. Will I put a graphic in this negative space? But seriously, in this video, I want to answer one important question, and that is, was my progress while coming off psychiatric drugs linear? And I'm not going to make this a cliffhanger. It wasn't. Now, I want to get into ways in which it seemed to be linear. I seemed to be making progress, but I also want to get into the things that were meddling with that progress that made it feel like I wasn't accomplishing what I really was wanting to accomplish. Now, in the very beginning, I didn't feel like I was making any progress at all. I was just doing too poorly day to day. I wasn't sleeping. I had no hope. I had no idea if things would ever get any better. So it was just a really, really awful time. Eventually, maybe after a few years, is when I finally started to experience some progress. I was being more social. I was exercising more. I was joining some walking groups in the city I was living at the time. I was in a meditation group. I was doing things that I had never really done before and could not have really imagined myself doing. It's almost as if I was becoming a social butterfly. I don't know if that's a good word, but I was becoming a much more social person, which sort of blew my mind at the time. And I was continuing to come off medications, which was the goal. It was the mission, so to speak. I was continuing to do that. I was reducing the doses. I was reducing the total number of medications. And over time, I eventually regained the ability to read, which was something I couldn't do while taking medications for all those years. And my sleep slowly improved, which was, has been immensely helpful. I barely slept at all for the first 5 years for the 5 years that I was tapering. So that was making me feel like I was making some progress. Some very important progress. Now, through all of that, there were ways in which I wasn't progressing. Even though I was becoming more social, I still was not leaving the house. I rarely left the house. I left it to go to a group or to go grocery shopping when I needed food. But I didn't leave the house very often. And I would leave it for exercise and stuff like that. But I just didn't leave. And when I was at home, if I was sitting down, I was lying down. I wasn't sitting in a chair or on the couch or something. I was lying down because for me that was a form of sensory deprivation, which I needed. But in a way, that need to just block out everything, except for maybe I was watching something on a tablet or something like that, an iPad or whatever I had at the time, watching Netflix or whatever, YouTube, probably binging YouTube videos, video game Let's Plays or who knows what. That was my kind of a form of nutrition at that time. But at the same time, it's hard to feel like you're making progress when you're not leaving your bed. So that was one example of why I kind of in some ways was moving forward, but then at the same time, it didn't seem like I was really going anywhere good. And even though my sleep was improving, I still didn't have much energy during the day. Eventually, when I would go for a walk or something, I had a little bit of energy there, but even that felt like it was mostly due to restlessness and not because I truly had energy. I was coming off a benzo, among other things, so that led to a lot of restlessness. So there's kind of a theme here of making progress while simultaneously feel like you're going nowhere fast. I think that's kind of how it felt for me. And all throughout that time, too, to a lot of people on the outside, I think I looked normal. I think this is something a lot of us experience. We look normal on the outside, but on the inside, very different story. We're just, whatever it might be, we're completely hollow. Like there's something that's just missing. There are a lot of things missing. And to really hammer on the nonlinearity of it, sometimes things improve, sometimes dramatically, and then suddenly for no reason, they just go back to being really bad again. Sleep can be an example. Sometimes you have great sleep suddenly, maybe for a night, maybe for a week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks, and then it just goes away completely. You can't sleep at all. You may start to have other symptoms. Sometimes you could even make a dietary change, and that leads to an immediate result that feels great, and then it just goes away. So there are all kinds of examples like that where you really start to feel like you're doing this, progress, 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 and then suddenly there's a loop. And then another loop, and then another loop, and it goes back in on itself and kind of goes back towards the beginning. And then maybe suddenly it does, I don't know what this would be, a 300-degree angle turn? I don't know. It does a very sharp turn and goes back towards the kind of the progress end of the spectrum, right? Like you're making that progress again. And then, of course, it starts to do all these weird little things. So if you're trying to chart your progress, it'll drive you insane. But you are making progress overall. Overall, it's doing this. It's trending upwards. So that's what really matters ultimately. You're going on this long, winding journey that's just insanity made manifest, and still you're making progress. You really are. So don't forget that. That's really the most important thing to take from this, is that even though your progress is not linear, you are making progress, and that's the most important thing. That's the life-saving, preserving thing. So what can you do to make things go a little more smoothly? Well, one thing you can do is find community. Find people just like you that you can talk to and relate to, who know what you're going through. You don't have to be part of a community in any kind of formal way. Just look for one person or multiple people, whatever, who can understand and relate. Maybe they've been through it. I think that can be vital. There were times in my life where I didn't really have that, and those were the times when I did not do very well. And I'm not a very social person anyway, so it's not natural for me. I'm a little social. I talked about that earlier, but it's still not normal for me to join like forums or do anything like that, or really, reach out to people and stuff like that, But still, I need to put in a little bit of the effort to meet people and have people in my life. So it's something to consider. Even if you're an introvert, an extreme introvert, it can be beneficial. Ultimately, you know what's best for you, but it can be beneficial to have that kind of connection, to have that kind of support, because otherwise it can be difficult to feel like you're not alone and not isolated. Another thing that can help is a good diet. This is one of those things where you got to do what you can. Not everybody is in the best situation when it comes to getting the best nutrition. So just do what you can. And I'm someone who is definitely speaking from experience. I've made a lot of the right decisions and I've made a lot of the wrong decisions. And I can tell you that if you make the right decisions more often than you make the wrong ones, you'll recover a lot faster. The healing process will go much more smoothly. Not saying you should do it and try to do the right thing all the time. I think that can be a little crazy making too, depending on how you're wired. Sometimes what's bad is what's good. But you got to figure out what's best for you. Also, avoid or limit things that you know aren't good for you. And this is kind of in the diet category, but it can be extended to other things too. We can be talking substances like caffeine, alcohol. If you know you're sensitive to something and it bothers you, consuming it is more likely to impede your progress, to make it hard for you to make linear or nonlinear progress. And if you go too far with it, you may end up even interfering with your goal to come off medication. You may actually end up back on psych drugs. So be careful with stuff like that, because that will definitely interfere with your progress. And most importantly, let time do its thing. It may not cure you or fix you on its own, but it's the great modifier of the healing process. Just let time do its thing. But real quick before you leave, I'm adding a calendar link to my YouTube bio or on the About page of my YouTube channel. If you click on that link, you can schedule to talk with me for, I think right now it's like a 50-minute appointment. 50, not 15. So you can schedule a time to talk and get some support, some help, some hope, whatever. Talk to somebody who's been through it, who understands, who knows what you're going through. So that could be helpful. I didn't do anything like that while I was coming off medications, and I really wish I had. So please consider that if you're interested. Just follow the link that hopefully will be there soon. But yeah, just I probably will talk over Skype or Zoom or something like that. Yeah, hopefully there's some option there that will appeal to everyone or the greatest amount of people or whatever. But anybody's interested, follow that link, set up a time on the calendar, and I look forward to talking to you. So yeah, this has been Russell B. See y'all later. Bye. All right, I think that's enough. I think that's good. I think I've given y'all your dose of this. All right.